Frankie served time here, 11 years, too many. It's all along this brickwork here, but also on all the other areas of the building on the backside is people have carved their names. Part of the work that we do at Woodland Cultural Centre is to talk about the history of the residential school. We do that both through in-person tours and virtual tours. Just the very fabric of the building, the material of the building, has a connection for survivors and is important to survivors and to their families. So we're keeping even those little bits like the bricks that we have to remove or replace, we're keeping them all. Right there. That's my family, my uncle. The building behind me was the former Mohawk Institute Residential School. It's the longest operating residential school in Canadian history. It actually predates Canada's existence, operating from 1831 until 1970. And this is the third building on the property. The former two buildings were burnt down, so this is a 1903 building. There's work to be done in terms of putting back all of the cooking equipment. The building itself will reopen to the public next fall, and people will be able to go through and experience stories from survivors and their firsthand accounts of being here at the Institute. This institute in particular has the nickname the Mush Hole, and it's because at times the students were fed oatmeal 3 times a day. Their storage here, the dry storage, wasn't very good, so sometimes it had bugs in it, and they were still made to eat it. If they didn't eat it the next meal, it was still there on their plates. And the older girls did work in the kitchen preparing the food. We're in the third stage of 4 stages of construction. So we've got about 2/3 of the building completed. We're putting an elevator in this fall, and next year we'll get to put in a ramp up to the front entrance. We also have some of our offices in the building. So we have a language department that works on language preservation and promotion. We have our education department, and we also have an extensive library and archive, one of the largest collections of Indigenous authored material, certainly in the province, probably in the nation, in one location. So it's a reference library, and it'll reopen in the fall as well of 2024. So this used to be the girls' sewing room. One of the places that we see the evidence of those children and their experience is even in the furniture. They're kids at the end of the day. Terrible, terrible things done to them, but they were still children. And so just like kids today will write in a textbook or, carve something into their desk in school, it's the same thing. Our second building on our site was also part of the Mohawk Institute. It's a 1950s building that was used as classroom and gymnasiums, and that's where we have our permanent galleries and temporary galleries. So we have a broader history about Haudenosaunee people, Six Nations of the Grand River Territory, and also the history of the residential school. And then we pair that with contemporary art exhibitions so that people don't just see us as victims. Residential schools are something that happened to us, but they aren't all that we are. We also really like to celebrate all of the accomplishments of folks from Six Nations of the Grand River, Wata and Tyendinaga, our support communities. And so that includes people like Robbie Robertson. So we have his Juno here and one of his guitars. We were really, really fortunate that we had Robbie Robertson as the honorary chair of our capital campaign committee. And of course, Robbie has a long history with his mom being from Six Nations. So he has a personal connection to Six Nations, but also because he was a performing artist. And part of the work that we do at Woodland is to support the next generation of those performing artists. And when he passed, his family asked that in lieu of flowers, donations be made to Woodland Cultural Centre. So we're, I think, getting close to around $60,000 now. It's been really uplifting, I think, for us, and I hope for his family as well, to see that support from all over the place.